Good evening. 10 o'clock, Thursday night. OA, Chappy and RC. The other angle. The Otra angle. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not a lot. Just hanging out here with the windows open, watching it rain in the middle of Tornado Alley, like you said. Trying to avoid my iPad coming on. I forget every time that we go live. My iPad's set to trigger with iLogic Media, so it's just like, oh, there we are.
Yeah, I'll tell you, every time I do this, it's kind of cool because I still get a trip out of seeing myself on video, and I still get a trip out of seeing people interact, and I'm still always flattered by all the people that reach out to us. So, I got a good feeling about tonight's show. I take it you listened at 8 o'clock to at least some of that show, to my prospects.
Absolutely, and I enjoyed the show. As always, on Thursday night, I do Chappy's fantasy chat, and then I take a quick break. Tonight, it was a little Denny Moore stew because I didn't feel like cooking, and then I'm on here. So it's a good night. Kind of a slow night in sports. We've been at just breakneck pace lately. So
yeah,
the last couple of nights, I've actually took a little bit of break from sports. The Michigan-Tennessee game in the ladies bracket kind of broke my heart because really thought we had a chance to maybe go a little deeper in that tournament. So once both my Vols team were eliminated, I kind of and then on Tuesday, Robbie and Raj and I did the follow-up to our bracket busters, and then I was like, you know what, Wednesday, timeout. Let's just timeout. So
yeah. I'll tell you, it's kind of cool. I'm watching, actually, I use this opportunity for just kind of catch up on some things that I might have missed. Right now I'm watching yesterday's Mariners and Cubs game. Just real quick, that Mariners team is going to be better than people think. Dunn and Marjavicius is a fifth starter for me. Both of those guys are really good pitchers. So.
It's funny. My 10-year-old guest almost
Ray
said the same.
He's a rock star.
He almost said the exact thing. Ray getting more views than the whole network. I mean, but he's a big Cubs fan, and he kept telling me, that the Cubs were better than I was giving them, and when we finished the show and I thought we were done, Chappy, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wrap him up. And he goes, you told me I was going to get to do my Cubs review. And I was like, all right.
He held you to it.
He held me to it. And I'll be honest with you, his points about Chris Bryant was true that, I really liked his point that Bryant's defense did improve last year, even though his offensive and production went down. And he thought that his production would be back up and his defense would stay at the same level. He knows they got problems in the outfield, but he knows they've got potential. And I really like Ian Happ. On my fantasy team. So that shows you how I am on Ian Happ.
Well, I'll tell you, I enjoyed listening to him and his take on it. Jock Peterson's one for me for the Cubs that I think is probably getting a little underappreciated. He's gotten some good publicity. But I feel like him getting to play every day in left field, Chicago will benefit him greatly. Again, I look for bounce back seasons out of Javi and Contreras particularly. And, the thing that worries me about the Cubs is their pitching in general. I'm not sure that they have it for the long haul. They need a lot of ifs, right? I like Alzolay, the pitcher. Actually it's his third year, but he's not shown me a whole lot. Of course, Kyle Hendricks is going to be great.
A lot of innings missing with Darvish. Yeah. Not that I think Darvish. I don't think he's as front line as some folks do.
Yeah.
But gosh, he was an innings eater for that staff, and that staff needed it with young arms too.
So. And in all honesty, he was dominant When he found his groove, he really was dominant last year.
At
And
times, yeah.
It's really kind of scary what San Diego's building up there. I think that I'm a big proponent of Joe Musgrove. And to put him at fourth in that rotation, to me, is scary.
Yeah.
And really, they have two aces there, and Blake Snell and Darvish.
I think both teams get into playoffs. It's just who wins the division. And
Yeah.
I don't know if San Diego, as good as they are, has enough to run LA down. I mean, it's.
I'll tell you what I tell you what I think it comes down to. Trent Grisham. If Trent Grisham has the type of year that he's capable of, he has another legitimate stick into that bat. He gives him another bit of depth. I think C.J. Abrams is a big deal. He's going to come up and play some center field, play some second base, be a big base stealer off the bench for them. Talking about prospects, he's that next layer. It's the guy you're talking about after the All-Star break.
Right.
But Trent Grisham has the potential to be a top 5 outfielder this year. If that happens, they can jump the Dodgers, in my opinion.
Both teams got to stay healthy. I mean, as good and as deep as both teams are, you can't lose. We've proven that you can't lose a couple of key pieces. I think we could see. Well, when Ray and I did our prediction, we had the Braves against the Dodgers in a rematch. But I really think we could see a Braves Padres in LCS too. I mean, I think it's possible.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we'll get to Ian Anderson and Bryce Wilson a little bit later. But I like the Braves are starting to quietly build a little bit of depth in that staff, right?
Right.
So and they're doing it large part on their young arms. You look at guys 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are young guys, and they all seem capable.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
I think the Braves they need one of two players to step up. I mean, I really think we got to see we got to have a better year out of either Austin Riley or Pache. One of the two have really got to put it all together, and I think Riley's the one more likely to do that.
I love to throw you curveballs, RC.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've not been a big Pache fan.
Correct.
I'm impressed with what I'm seeing with him. I think he's making the right steps forward.
I think because he got caught up in being behind Albies and Acuna in the Braves minor league, I think the hype got overstated. Maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
And what you, I personally think if you can get, no doubt he can be the best center fielder defensively in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And if he could hit 270, 15 home runs, steal 10, drive in
I think
65,
he steals more than 10.
Yeah, I mean, that's just bonus to me over 10.
I think he gets up over 20, man. That's my personal – yeah. He's I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself with that. But I got a chance to watch him. I tell you, he's a better player. He passes my eye test.
He is one thing about the Dominican players and the players from Central America, they mature, and then all of a sudden they'll have that year that they just kind of mature into a major league body. And I think we're seeing that a little bit. I never think he's going to hit 40 home runs like Acuna and driving 100. And, but there's a reason Ronald Acuna is first off in most fantasy drafts, at worst second. So,
Let me ask you this. What's a successful year for Christian Pache?
I think anything over 270, play 120 games, score 60, 70 runs, steal anything north of 10, and drive in anything north of 60, and not make
silly mistakes.
Don't
give up at bats.
Yeah. I mean, I don't worry about his defense because I think it's
exceptional.
I think it's the luxury that lets him play Ozuna in left field.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
No doubt about it.
You've got Acuna who can cover a ton of ground in right field.
Yep.
It allows Pache to shade to left field. And really, you asked Ozuna to field anything hit directly at him and don't make dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what the Braves outfield can be, you know.
That is such a great point. Well done. Because I guess another way to look at it, Ozuna is a defensive liability.
Yes. Yes.
Pache makes up for that defensive liability.
Right.
And Acuna's very strong defensively.
Right. Yeah. You've got two great outfielders.
It's almost like, it's the old beer league softball adage, right? Where you got your power hitter can't field a lick, but you shade him because you put these two super fast guys in center, right, to cover up for him because his bat makes up for it. It's kind of the same thing you're doing with Ozuna because you have this exceptional talent in Acuna and Pache defensively.
You do.
Then it sets up your entire team that way.
And you're so strong up the middle with Swanson and Albies that
no doubt.
I mean, you are, and I keep thinking, and I know Arnaud has got the job right now, but in 2 years, give me that. How they may be up the middle, as good with Langoliers, Swanson, Albies, and Pache defensively as any team in the major leagues. And it's an old saying: if you're good defensively up the middle, you're a good defensive team. So it's a lot of old baseball allergies that not a lot of places play, but Atlanta still tries to win that way.
It's great. I love having this conversation. No one else is having this conversation, Randall. No one else is having this conversation. Because here's my question. Is there room on this Braves team in 2 years for Shea Langoliers and William Contreras both?
No. I mean, as much as it's a luxury and, to have two young catchers, I just don't see. And at some point, you've got so much value in both of them that you've got to go get something back.
They're both everyday catchers.
Yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of those in the majors. There's not a lot of guys that's going to hit. And I think I'm on the conservative side when I say these guys both can hit 275, 15, 20 home runs, drive in 70, and especially with Langoliers, play A+ defense.
And I think Contreras does as well.
I've just not seen him as much. So
I'll tell you, that guy is very underrated as a prospect.
It's a luxury, and you don't spend the 9th overall pick on a catcher and leave him in the minors for a half a decade. So I don't think it's long in the wind. And we've talked about, I think Contreras could go somewhere. If all you need is a catcher to make your team better. Yeah, I mean, he's a great addition.
Yeah. Who's the better Contreras? William or Wilson?
At this point, it's easy. It's William. But, I mean, I think a lot of it, they're that far apart in age that one of them's going to be at the height of the career when the other one's sliding a little bit. So, but, I mean, it's kind of like the Molina brothers. Here you go with the Contreras brothers, Yeah. If I'm a team looking for a catcher, I'm checking for a third brother right now. So
Wilson thinks it's William.
That says a lot.
At least he says he's more athletic behind the plate. That's drawing the line. I understand that, but interesting nonetheless, right?
Some of the pop numbers and the throwing numbers that Contreras has in the minors are like elite major league arm level, I just don't know how you can afford to hold on both of them. I mean, as much as I like having them, I think at some point you can go get an elite arm for one of these guys,
I mean, unless you feel like you could plop William at third base as a platoon. or at left field as a platoon.
Well, I mean,
that changes it, right? If his bat's he has a good bat. That's what we haven't talked about a lot. He's got quick hands.
If you can find 120 games for both of them, they're fine.
You do it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you expect one of them to catch 110 games, the other one to catch
30,
40, you know. So I don't know. I tell you,
it's an interesting dilemma.
It's a great dilemma. I mean,
and it's one that I don't think's talked about enough. I mean, you know, having these catching prospects, like you said, is really valuable. It's a commodity.
Not a lot of those guys.
Especially with offensive profiles as well.
Yeah. You know, in that draft, you had two catchers taken in the top 10.
Right.
You know, MLB is – and you look at when we went through our fantasy drafts, and I know we didn't mean to get on this rant, but I'm on it.
Yeah.
You know, we're out.
That's okay.
I'm taking Dalton Farso as the 7th catcher off the board, hoping he plays 100 games in Arizona's outfield, you know. Catcher is not a place that a lot of people, you know, we went into the draft, we kind of were like crossing notes, checking eyes, and both of us when we did our draft prep was like, you wait. Unless you just wait. I mean,
I waited too long.
Well,
did you see who I ended up with?
I did.
Listen, I love who I ended up with. But I like who I picked up off the waiver wire even more. So I ended up with Yadier Molina, and we'll get back on point in a second. I ended up with Yadier Molina. I love Yadier Molina this year in St. Louis.
Right.
He feels slighted that he didn't get a bigger contract.
He does.
He's motivated to hit.
Yep.
And then I went out and picked up for $1. For $1, the predominant catcher in Colorado, the former Pittsburgh Pirate, Ronius Elias.
Not bad.
He's killing the ball in the spring.
I know you killed me by $2 on CJ Cron. I was in for $48, so I was like, I tried to make an odd amount, thinking nobody'd be around that price. So
I missed on. Well, I didn't miss. I don't have to sit on Jared Duran. I really thought he'd break the big league club,
right?
But it looks like it's going to be Bobby Dahlbeck instead.
Yeah.
And I think Dahlbeck got drafted, didn't he? He got drafted in our minor league draft.
Yeah.
But to me, Duran still has tremendous upside. I just have to sit on an empty bench spot now.
Yeah.
The speed for me with Duran.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting on 3 combo infielders trying to find one backup in Kingery and Beretta. And you know, I don't know if that was the right
I think
move.
you're good with Kingery, man.
I do too. And I was actually going to cut the other combo infielder when I was going after Cron, and you know, I just didn't think I was going to get outbid.
Yeah.
So, but that league, it's
tough, right?
It's tough because, I mean, I feel good about my infield, and then I got to looking around after the draft, and I was like, somebody we're going to talk about. Alec Broom was my only third baseman eligible player. I was like, I've got to have somebody. So I'm out in the 20th round trying to find a backup third baseman.
Because, they're all gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I come up with Kingery. So
that's why I love, you know, this is my home league. I love setting up a deep draft because it really takes skill to fill out your bench. You know, you can have garbage on your bench if you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Right.
So, and especially that first waiver wire pickup, you look out there and you see who someone missed because it always happens.
Yeah.
And you really have to be aggressive initially those first couple weeks on a waiver wire with your fab budget.
Yeah, and I'm back in this week. I mean, I'm trying to do some things this week, and
Yeah.
I heavily invested in infielders, but infielders are kind of like
A dime a
gold to me.
dozen.
Yeah, when you got a good one, you hold on to him. So
Yeah. So, I'm excited. We're a week away, right?
Right.
I can't wait next week, to talk about some games, but we'll do that. I plan on doing that on this show. Hopefully you don't mind that. Because I want to finish up my prospects.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm selfish. But no, let's talk about what we scripted to talk about a little
All
bit.
Right, let's
then,
get
right?
to it.
Let's reflect on what was discussed tonight. I want your opinions on these comparisons that I drew at 8:00 tonight.
Well,
talk about first off. Before we get to those guys, I'm going to throw you again a curveball.
Okay.
I love to do that. Bigger impact this year, Bobby Witt or Wander Franco?
Wow. This year I think it's Bobby Witt. Just because I think there's a little
camp, right?
Yeah, he breaks camp, and I think there's a little clearer path at bats for him. And I'm thinking he's a step ahead of where Wander Franco is. I think long-term Franco's the better player, but Bobby Witt
he's special.
Yeah, Bobby Witt's going to break. I took him in our minor league draft with my first pick, and when I did, I was like, I might see him all-star break. I think he's an everyday player day one in 21, and that's going to create me a minor league spot right off the go. So I think this year, Witt, if I was buying long-term like our Dynasty League, I think it's Franco.
Yeah. Second base, outfield for Witt.
I think it's outfield to start.
Really?
I do, from what I'm hearing from Kansas City.
Interesting.
I don't like Kansas City's second base. What's his Nick?
Nicky Lopez.
Nicky Lopez. I don't like that situation at all for them, but for some reason, Kansas City's kind of married to Nicky Lopez.
I think, I agree. I don't think Nicky Lopez sticks. I guess I come down to who do they want in right field more, Witt or Merrifield? Who's the better second baseman, right?
Yeah.
Or do you want the better right fielder?
Right.
I understand the argument at right field. I tend to think they want Whitley in right field.
Right.
He's a better outfielder, I think, especially out there in right field. So I think he goes to second base.
Well, Kansas City's desperate for a bat, too. I mean, and you take Lopez out of the lineup and insert
That's
Witt.
a big bump, man.
That's a big bump.
Yeah. I want to kind of cruise through these, so we'll be quick.
Okay.
Ian Anderson or Sixto Sanchez?
All right. So I'm going to try again. Elite Sixto Sanchez, elite prospect. Again, what's he throw? 97, 98. Just
he averaged 98.6 on his four-seamer last year.
That's
and 96.4 on his sinker.
That's so elite. The thing I worry about Sixto Sanchez, and this is
him throwing his arm out of socket.
Yeah, and I hate to see a young pitcher come up in that division before he's ready. If he's day one, breaks camp, that's a tough division to get your teeth cut in. Ian Anderson, we keep talking about, he's the most shocking rookie I've ever seen. And the fact that I don't think of him as a rookie.
He looks like a 10-year vet.
Yeah, even when we were doing our rookie draft and someone took him, I was like,
it didn't feel right?
Yeah.
Did you go look at his innings pitched to make sure he was eligible?
I did. I would have still took Witt because I was kind of married to Witt all the way through the draft where I was drafted. I was drafted in 7. And I was I wasn't going to take a pitcher. I eventually did in the last round in Emerson Hancock, but
yeah, I didn't.
I was married to infielders, and again, I guess I'm the infield collector. So, but when they drafted Ian Anderson, I was like, huh. And the first thing I did was look, and he qualified. It was amazing.
There's some strategy to that, right?
Yeah. He's going to immediately be off his roster, and he's going to have a spot. And
he'll be able to pick up a consolation guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that intentionally with Hayes as well.
Yeah. I kind of thought Witt would be mine,
and I think he will be.
Yeah.
I think he will be, especially now.
So Ian Anderson, though, I love his stride. I was trying to talk. I mean, he comes so far down the mound. It's not Randy Johnson. He's not 6'11", of course. But, former Braves prospect Adam Rainwright, who had a great major league career with the Cards still out there, 6'8". And those guys it's just a foot different. But, major league hitters talk about how different the angle of the ball is. And, you give me those tall pitchers.
A long stride,
and it just gets them there that much faster. And that's the reason
the ball gets on you quicker. You're absolutely right.
And then you look at Deivi Garcia, 5'9", and you just think everybody can do it. One guy's 6'6", one's 5'9".
Side note, watching them yesterday against the Pirates, Adam Frazier takes a numbers-high fastball off of Ian Anderson out of the park.
Wow.
Adam Frazier, comeback player of the year. Him and Kevin Newman, one of those two guys, phenomenal year this year out of those guys. Mark it. You heard it here first. I'm saying it on air.
I went through a prediction video that just was like, oh, the Pirates are the worst team in the Central by 20 guys. I'm like, I don't.
Hey, I'm with you. I totally disagree. Their infield is really good. I mean, if O'Neal Cruz forces a call up, he could potentially move Kevin Newman to second base. You're looking at an infield of Hayes, Cruz, Newman, and Marin. With now Adam Frazier in left field, you're looking at a good lineup, Randall.
A major league lineup, which Pittsburgh's not put in the.
Yeah.
They've been years that, Pittsburgh did not have a major league lineup. They had a couple of good players, and it felt like AAA talent, and that's not AAA talent. That's major league ready.
Right. And it's just the beginning, right? It's just starting.
Yeah, I mean, we got Gonzalez down in the farm, and
Quinn Priester. I talked about him.
Yeah.
One of the highest raising prospects out there. This time next year, he's going to be a top 50 prospect. By the All-Star break next year, he's going to be a top 10 prospect. Quinn Priester.
Let me get a note on that one.
Yeah, he's out there. He's out there. You have to sit on him a little bit. But people don't realize the job that Pittsburgh's doing is going largely unnoticed.
Well, and I think some of that, Chappy, is because they've done it by trading prospects. And even though they've got heat for trading some good prospects, the haul they've got back for some of these prospects are unreal. And we were talking about Cabrian Hayes earlier today. It broke my heart in 2015 when Cabrian Hayes signed a major league contract. Cabrian was committed to my Vols at one point, and it was in a class.
That's right, you mentioned that.
It was in a class that had 3 kids that are all major league level prospects now.
Yeah.
And all of them left. They all signed and all went away,
Yeah.
It just happens, It's got to be one of the hardest jobs in sports, being a coach at the collegiate level.
Well, yeah, especially baseball. You're absolutely right. And I'll tell you, the thing about Hayes is that he's not been a quick developer. It's taking him a while. to get to where he is.
Yeah, he was drafted in 15. Now, he was a high school player, and I think that's the difference in him and Braum, is that Braum did play 3 years at Wichita State.
Right.
A little more developed product, but I still think Cabrian Hayes has the better upside.
But I would challenge that just a bit. Because, and you led us right into this next question. Thank you. So Hayes or Braum, right? So because whereas Braum is playing college competition, Hayes is cutting his teeth against professionals.
And that, that's funny. I've thought about this for the last 2 days. It's like, is it better for how do you develop talent? Do you go get high school players? If you follow the Braves path, for a long time, it was high school pitchers. Ian Anderson was a high school pitcher. Then they kind of went, we're going to go college pitcher. Kyle Wright's the college pitcher. I think from the franchise I follow the closest, it seems like high school players have developed better than college players. I think college players can get to the majors much, much faster.
Oh, yeah.
Much more mature. I thought it was going to be easy with Braum and Cabrian Hayes because we've talked about Cabrian Hayes so much.
Right.
Braum's a better prospect and a better defensive player than we give him credit for.
I agree with the first part of that. He's worked hard at getting better at defense.
He has.
But the difference for me is between Hayes and Braum has 40 homer potential. Hayes will never hit that.
Right.
Hayes could win batting titles. I don't think Braum ever gets there.
No,
I know he had that inflated average last year. But I think that's just a touch of an. I think he carries a high average, but he's not hitting 330 or whatever it was.
No, and you don't feel like, I have Braum in our league, and I here's the thing.
I always want to say that too, by the way, Braum. I don't know why.
Because of Brian Braum, the coach at Purdue. As a player, I like Cabrian Hayes, but as a fantasy draft this year, I might like where I got Braum better than where you got Hayes at.
Well, so that was your second pick, is that correct? You took Witt and then Braum?
No, my third pick.
Your third pick. Yeah, I took Hayes first.
Yeah.
But so here was the strategy with that. Just the same reason why I took Soto over Acuna. This is an OBP league.
Right.
If you're looking at OBP, Hayes is elite. Braum's got to show me.
Yeah.
Same thing with Acuna and Soto. And we've talked about that. Soto's generational. Acuna's very good. It's a big difference.
Acuna will never hit 320.
He'll never have a 4 whatever OBP either.
Right.
Whatever it was, ungodly. The most in 17 years or whatever it was since Bonds. That doesn't happen every year.
It's going to be interesting. And I heard the comparison. Are we going to watch Willie Mays and Hank Aaron play out before our eyes with Acuna and Soto?
I think I look at McGuire and Sosa.
Yeah.
I look at it like that. Because you have these two superstar players, and they both have desire to do things that other folks haven't.
Yeah.
It's a little different because it's not these big roided up home run hitters, although they hit a lot of home runs. They're both trying to do not just be one dimensional.
And I saw Acuna play. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my hat from Daddy-Daughter Day. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. Mm-hmm. One of the great promotions the Braves does every year. On Father's Day, we go down and we get to walk We get to lead a parade around the field before the game. So go see the clubhouse, and it's a lot of fun. And
Nice.
when you watch Acuna play, unlike a lot of players that I watched in the 90s, back in the days I had season tickets and went to 67 games, I feel like Acuna has fun playing baseball. And that makes it a little different in my mind.
I'm with you.
And I watch Soda, and you see the same thing. And those guys. And I'm not criticizing the Sosas and the McGuires and the Bonds, and I'm not sure they were having fun.
I don't know if I agree with that, buddy.
It just
there were times. I mean, that home run chase year, those guys were. I mean, that was so cool.
That year out, that was great. But did they set a bar that made them miserable after that? Was kind of that's kind of what I picked up from Sosa.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, it has had an effect on both of those guys. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the same guys they were.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that's an era of baseball that's just overlooked now. And that home run race was great.
Totally agree. So, one of the best eras of baseball I can remember. So let's move on because I want to get to these other topics.
All right.
Talk to me about Andrew Vaughn quickly.
I tried to ask you today, is he a right-handed Freddie Freeman? I looked at his minor stats and his velocity rates, and to me it looks like just a pure hitter. And a lot of times that left-hander always gets called a sweet swing, but I really like Vaughn, and I like his situation. That lineup is going to be so good, and it's going to be good for a long time. So who do you compare him to in the majors right now? That's where I was struggling.
Yeah, no, and I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. Javi Baez. He has that compact swing. He brings his hands down, but he has a quick approach to the ball. He has really fast hands. He has a quick swing. He's quick through the zone. But, again, because I say he's like Javi Baez, he's more disciplined than Baez is.
Yeah. He's got a pretty swing.
So while he's like Javi Baez, he's a better hitter than Baez. He has the power approach that Baez has.
Right.
He's got the plate knowledge of a much better hitter than Javi Baez. It's really intriguing to see the things. Yeah, Tony La Russa's been around forever, right?
Right.
He gushes about this guy. I trust his judgment. And what I've seen, he's got pretty impressive power right now. But we're talking about in 2 years, 40, 45 homer type of power.
And he's very compact for his. He's like 5'11", 210. And just I when I looked at his bats on YouTube, it's one of those you just go, that's a pretty swing. It's a pretty swing.
And again, he's efficient. That's the way I classify him. He's efficient. He's compact. He's tightly wound. And when he finds his comfort zone against elite pitching, watch out. Again, he could be the centerpiece. He could be better than Eloy.
Well, with Eloy's injury, it looks like he's going to get the at-bats right now to find out. That's what I'm saying.
In 5 years, it could be Vaughn 1, Robert 2, Eloy 3.
That would be – how good's that lineup going to be for a long time?
Yeah.
And then, again, that's a college hitter.
Absolutely.
A Pac-12 guy, a Cal guy.
Yeah. So, I love him in left field, too. I think he's a guy. He's a keeper type guy, even in a shallow league. Moving on. I haven't presented this yet. Alek Manoah, first round pick for the Blue Jays, year before last. West Virginia Mountaineer, Miami kid, 6'8", I think 260. Is he the closer for the Blue Jays?
I just had a feeling we were going there tonight, so I did a little research. He's set up to be a closer, and he's got 2 elite pitches with the four seam and the slider.
Yeah.
To me, he's not a guy cut out to be anything but a closer. And if you go back and you read his scouting reports from West Virginia, he has that unique. He looks like a closer. He walks like a closer. He talks like a closer. Man, if Toronto just it takes a lot of guts to throw him at the back end of that bullpen. But I think by the All-Star break, we see it.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if I agree with all of that. He looks like a frontline pitcher. He looks like an ace. He fits the closer role this year.
Right.
And because of his size, he has built to throw 260, 270 innings. You don't get that these days.
He looks like a young Goose Gossage, who I think they struggled with whether he was a starter or reliever at some points in his career.
So seeing this guy pitch in college, his fastball's dominant, good movement, mid-90s. Again, the 6'8" frame, like you said with Anderson, the ball gets on you quicker than people anticipate, so it's harder to pick up. The slider's a wipeout pitch. He's working on a curve, and he's working on a slider. Back-end bullpen guys usually aren't more than a 2-pitch pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, he's there already.
Exactly.
He needs the third pitch to be a front-end number one starter.
So it's a fine line because you want to get the innings built up. But in the same regard, you have this guy who has inherent closer stuff. I'm with you. I think he starts until about June. And then they bring him into the bullpen because Jordan Romano's failed and, they've just not been able to find the solution.
It's an interesting it's a harder transition than most people think. But he did. The one thing I do like about college pitchers is they get a look at closing games, starting games. For the folks that don't know, colleges usually play on a Wednesday and then play the weekend. You may pitch the Friday game and be the closer on the Sunday game,
Right.
So, I think he's a closer tomorrow if they want him to be. And just nasty, I mean.
Yeah.
And again, just huge guy. He's 6'8", and he's not skinny.
Right. Oh, and he's not fat either. He's just he's a farm boy, basically, right? I mean, he's not a farm boy, but he's built like he's just like he's there's mass to him.
He could play defensive end tomorrow. That kind of build.
So the Jays spot it together around the All-Star break. They bring him up, put him in the bullpen. Now, the caveat to that is they could put him in the rotation. So it's him, Kay, and Simeon Woods Richards, or whatever the heck his name is. Those are the 3 big prospects. in the Blue Jays system, from a pitching perspective, I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm at Fangraphs in case anybody wants to follow. Fangraphs does a great job because they give you the major league rosters, but then they also give you like all the prospects as well. Yeah. So the other pitchers, I'm TJ Zook. There's not much else here that I'm seeing. Outside of those three, looking a little bit down. Sorry, I do want to get this going further on, but I feel like for me, Manoah makes a lot of sense in that back end of that bullpen. But if there are some injuries, it wouldn't surprise me if they use him in the rotation sooner rather than later.
That rotation though is one injury away from. I mean, there's not
needing him.
There's not a lot of major league talent. There's a lot of talent in the Blue Jays minors, but they're not major league ready starters. So yeah, I could see that. They
definitely have better bats than arms in the minor leagues. They've got some good bat options in the minors, but their arms aren't. Again, Simeon, Woods, Richardson, and Manoah are clearly the cream of the crop there. So let's move on because we want to talk about some other stuff. We've already talked 45 minutes on this. We'll talk next week a little bit about some breakout candidates and some more prospect talk. But I'll ask you: do you want to go to basketball or do you want to go football?
Let's just knock the tournament out. I've talked about it for 2 hours already this week. I think we can pretty well knock the tournament out in 10 or 15 minutes and get some time up.
Yeah. Quickly. Who made the brackets up and where did they fail?
So I think the NCAA done a probably one of the worst jobs I've seen lately in seeding everyone. And again, I've used the COVID excuse for a long time, and you almost feel like it's kind of repetitive at this point.
It's an excuse.
Yeah. Loyola Chicago being an 8 seed.
Asinine.
They're coming into Ken Palm's rating as the number 9 team in the country, and they've proved they're a top 16 team in the country. Oregon State coming off of a
great
run becomes a 12th seed.
Yeah.
I think some of especially I'll talk about the Big Ten. I think a little bit got overseeded. Not a little bit. I know they got overseeded because we used the Big Ten to compare to the Big Ten. There was not a lot of West Coast basketball played.
Right.
Interconference. So I think we made the mistake, and I think the committee made the mistake of underseeding some teams out on the West Coast that really, really were better basketball teams. From the Midwest out, really seemed to get underseeded. And Chappy, let's give the committee credit. They are the sneaky bunch. They always say, we don't do this. They set some great matchups in that first round.
Yeah.
That were big. Tennessee, I'll take the Tennessee, Oregon State. Now, we can look back and go, honestly, if I'm not a Tennessee fan, that's pretty obvious.
Right.
That you've got 2 teams passing in the night.
Right.
You get Albany playing Texas.
Yeah. Abilene Christian. Yeah.
Yeah. The kids that wanted to go to Texas all their life are now getting a chance to play Texas.
Right.
I just think it was underseeded, overseeding, and I also think at the end of the day, it's been the craziest tournament I've ever seen, and I still would think we're on track to get the 2 teams that we talked about all year into the finals with Gonzaga and Baylor.
I agree. Next question. Why do we all sleep on Nova?
Why did we all sleep on Nova? Why did we sleep on Syracuse? Nova, Jay Wright is Jay Wright the best basketball coach in America now?
He's in. You can count him on a hand, that's for sure.
I mean, Jay Wright is elite, and the thing that got me, Chappy, and I every year, you talk about preparing for your next year's draft. you always make notes. Well,
right.
For next year's bracket, I'm making myself a mental note.
Yeah.
to not sleep on Nova.
Yeah.
And to go find the team that plays the best 2-3 zone and go ahead and move them into the Sweet 16. Because Syracuse in that 2-3 zone, it gave people fits everybody they played.
Yeah. Now and that's a great transition. So, of the three Cinderellas left, who poses the biggest matchup problem?
Is Chicago?
Is it Syracuse's zone?
Okay.
Is it Loyola's intensity? Is it USC's big men?
So I think USC has the best athletes and the best pro prospects, but I don't think USC gets past Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I actually think Syracuse has a clear path to the Final Four.
Yeah.
That bracket, once West Virginia was out of that bracket, it kind of busted wide open for Syracuse.
Yeah.
I think the best team of the Cinderellas shouldn't have been a Cinderella, and that was the intensity of Loyola. And I think it's a school. I don't think I'll ever make this mistake again and underestimate their ability. And I mean, Chappy, those kids play so hard, and they're so well coached, and you got to wonder.
They're tough to beat, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to wonder. And I don't think another thing. I'll close this out. I don't think we paid enough attention to the tournaments, the conference tournaments. I think there was there was some answers out there in the conference tournament.
Yep.
We just didn't look hard enough for them.
No, that's fair. Couple things, and then we'll move on for me. And I don't want to dwell on this. I'll move on quickly from it.
Yes, but we need to address it.
Absolutely. You know where I'm going. Don't be a coward. Learn to lose with dignity. Losing's a part of life. It is not acceptable to put death threats out on people. West Virginia University's lost 2 players from this team because I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss. Stupid-ass fans that want to get on Twitter and threaten to kill people, that have fought, bled, sweat, given up everything they have to play basketball for my friggin' state. And you want to give them death threats? And it's not just West Virginia. It happened at Ohio State. It happened at Illinois. It's unacceptable anytime. Professional or amateur, I don't care. It's a flipping game. We're losing this team because of stupid-ass fans, Randall. Emmett Matthews and Jordan McCabe have both left, and now they're losing. Sean McNeil's going to the NBA because of stupid fans that can't handle losing like a damn man. It's a part of life. It builds character. I hate it.
It is the biggest injustice in sports. And I shared with you a story, and I won't share the names because I was swore to secrecy. But I was involved personally with a kicker at a major university that I have a connection to the family who, and this kid was an all-conference kicker the year before, Chappy, missed a couple of field goals during the 20 season and was coming home to not only Twitter death threats, email death threats. Folks, if you first of all, we don't want you watching this show. If you feel like that's your life, go find someplace else. We don't need you.
Is it for you?
We don't want you. Also, I am very active at the University of Tennessee, and I'm going to go on a slight rant, not in a different direction.
Sure.
I write checks, and to this point, I'm very proud of this point. I've donated probably close to $30,000 to the University of Tennessee. I've donated to a fund that funds the scholarship fund. And every week or every 2 weeks, we get a email about what kids are doing in the community.
Right.
If you don't care about that too, and the sports,
right,
then you're not those kids, I'm a fan of the kids.
Right.
I go to the university.
They chose us, right?
Yeah, they had these kids. In the last decade, Tennessee has been a horrible football school. And those kids have took the blame for it. And a lot of them passed up opportunities to go to Alabama,
right,
Georgia, Florida. West Virginia, Pitt, Oklahoma. 5 kids after we fired the coach, or 4 kids, went straight to Oklahoma. They could have been there to start with.
Right. Not wasting their time, right?
Right. Folks, it's not the kid's failure.
Right.
You know, do I get upset? Yeah. Chappy hadn't wanted to talk. You hadn't wanted to talk about basketball. And I knew it.
Heartbroken.
But the first thing you did was say how hard you work the kids played.
I'm a man, though.
You're
Take
a West
it.
Virginia fan. And you started talking about next year. And before we could get to next year, some idiot, right, the same guy's dad that probably wrote Hank Aaron death threats in 74
right.
is the same coward that's out doing this on Twitter. So, folks, if you can't, I'm with you, Chappy. And if sports means that much to you, you do not have your priorities square.
Listen, and I want to move on from this because, I don't want to dwell on this.
I've got hot now.
The best gifts in my life have come directly from failure.
Yes.
It puts you where you need to be. Sometimes failing is where you need to be.
Yeah.
Handle it.
Yep.
Let's move on.
Absolutely. But, you know, something, that's the reason I'm proud of this show. People, we talk a lot of times and we don't agree on everything. But when it comes down to the human part of it, we are so in tune. So, agree with you 100%, brother.
And just before I move on, I'm naive. Taz Sherman, I love you. Emmett Matthews, I love you. Jordan McCabe, I love you. I wish you guys nothing but success. I don't blame you at all. I am so thankful that you have been Mountaineers and you've given your life, your blood, your sweat, your tears, your emotions, your energy, your thoughts to my program. Thank you so much, sincerely, from a real freaking Mountaineer fan.
Amen.
Success. Peace to you all.
And
anyway.
It's a shame their last taste of the university, which
it is.
You know, my daughter lived in West Morgantown for 2.5 years. We sat up at the hospital and watched many a baseball game. It's one of the unique places in the world. And it's a place. It's a special place. You know, it is a special place. It's one of the few places you can go where the whole community loves the university.
Yeah,
it is. All right, off my soapbox.
You can see why it's emotional for me, though, right? I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, it's not just in Morgantown. It's not just at WVU. It's happened all over the place, and I partially blame social media. I love it. Obviously, we're on it, but let's move on. Let's finish.
Finish strong.
Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan. Still a clear hierarchy here between 2 and M1.
Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Alabama. Yes.
Alabama jumped Michigan yet?
Yeah, in my opinion.
So you think it's Baylor or Gonzaga, Baylor, Alabama, Michigan?
Yes. Yes.
They all advance this weekend.
Yes. And then we get an Alabama-Michigan matchup. And then Baylor wins. I think the Final Four, I think Syracuse gets there. I think it's Syracuse, Alabama, Baylor, and Michigan. I think Baylor beats Syracuse. Alabama loses to Gonzaga. I mean, I said that wrong. Gonzaga beats Alabama. Baylor beats Syracuse. Final game, Baylor-Gonzaga.
Yeah. I can get there. Any final thoughts on March Madness?
It's been a great tournament. And, you know, I turned into a sports show a few weeks ago that said, it's kind of a slow time, and it's a show that's built around football mainly. And it's some friends of mine up over in West Tennessee, and those guys are football fans. And I text one of them later, and I was like, dude, how can you say it's a slow time? We have March Madness. We have, all this stuff. Best tournament to watch as a fan.
Yeah.
In several years.
It's not close.
It's been a fun tournament.
Yeah. Let's pivot. Let's take a deep breath. It's fun. This is great though, right? I mean, we're right on path. It's 11 o'clock. Let's talk football.
Let's go.
But let's center ourselves because it's, sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional, but it's something that's been bothering me. And I think that.
Don't threaten my kids, man. Don't threaten my kids.
I don't care if they're my kids, because even by proxy.
Yeah.
Those are my kids. Anyway, I don't want to get back into it. Let's move on. Let's go to football. We're coming up on draft season.
Yep.
We just went through a crazy, it was really like a week, right? Of free agency. Record movement.
Yep. Still people out there that can help somebody.
Absolutely. But I think it's important to kind of start thinking about ramifications of what just happened, right?
Right.
Because you look at what some of these teams are doing, what some of these teams are setting up for, and what I mean by that is the draft, right? Let's start out easy. Let's walk before we run. You smell that? I smell a tire fire. And I'm talking about the Houston Texans.
Dude.
Is there any hope in Houston?
No. And let me preface this, and this doesn't take long. I don't know what happened with Deshaun Watson, and I'm a father of a 10-year-old girl, and we won't go into it, but if he's guilty, I hope he never plays again.
Yeah.
If somehow the franchise has run a smear campaign on this man, at this point,
Shameful.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Right.
Everything that comes out of Houston is bad.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they have replaced whoever the worst franchise in pro sports was. They've replaced them. And now it starts at the bottom with the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
The ownership is dysfunctional. The coaching moves
Totally
are dysfunctional. You've lost your 2 years ago, about this time, we would have said Houston has 3 superstars to build around.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
Yeah.
Watt's in Arizona. Hopkins is in Arizona. Deshaun Watson, I find it impossible will ever wear a Texan uniform again. And then the moves they make are just are head scratchers. You're like, I was so puzzled by, the signing of Tyrod Taylor. And this is nothing against Tyrod, but
it tells me they're drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, he's been awful everywhere he's been.
Who's the worst? Is Tyrod Taylor a worse signing than Ryan Finley?
I don't know. I thought Ryan Finley, at least in my head, I can go, hey, Ryan Finley. Maybe we've not seen the full resume of Ryan Finley yet.
Right.
And maybe I haven't seen all that Ryan Finley had to offer. I've seen Tyrod Taylor.
It's not good, right?
It's never gotten better.
He's a backup.
He's a career back. He's a guy that can hold a clipboard for you.
Right.
And he's a guy, and this is nothing against Tyrod Taylor. He can win you a football game. but he's not an everyday football player.
Man, if he's my backup, I'm looking for a different backup.
Well, yeah, no, I would.
That's me.
Well, there's a reason he's been in Cleveland, L.A., and now Houston in the last 3 years. I'll put it that way.
Who's the better sign? This is where I think they've done well. Is Mark Ingram or Philip Lindsay a better sign?
That's the one place they might have done okay. I think Mark Ingram's got a lot of mileage on the wheels.
He's been rested, right?
But he's the one guy that can provide some leadership to that locker room. And when we talk about the Patriots in a little bit, I'm going to talk about that very fact. I think Philip Lindsay at this point in his career is a better back. I was really shocked when the Broncos signed Melvin Gordon last year. I was like, they have a better back there. And through the year, last year, it seemed like they were determined to give the ball to Melvin Gordon, even when Lindsay outproduced him. I think, strangely, Philip Lindsay has a good year. As a matter of fact, I'm starting my draft list, and I promise you I have Philip Lindsay probably 20 spots higher than anybody else does.
I totally agree with you. This to me reminds me. So I can start to build a foundation off of this. Let me explain. Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay, to me, remind me a lot of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Now, you throw in a Trey Lance, a Mac Jones. With that, it starts, and I know that's a little presumptive, right? I know that I don't know where they pick. I know it's a little later than where those guys. Jones might be there. Lance probably won't. But you put that together, you're starting to build something.
Right.
So I like this backfield. I like the combo of Ingram and Lindsay. They complement each other very well.
Unfortunately for the Texans, they traded their first and second round picks this year.
Crap.
And that's
you got me.
Well, that's the train wreck. They would have to probably go and give up. Miami's picking third on Houston's pick.
Well, and that's the thing, though. I mean, so it all kind of seems to tilt towards Miami, right? With Watson going there. It's a great pivot. Not by design pivot. What's Deshaun Watson worth now?
I don't know that I don't know if you can play him at this point until some of this cleans up. Before the allegations, he was worth. So
multiple.
you got 3 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford.
Right.
I said before all the internet and legal issues, Deshaun Watson was worth Tua Tagovailoa and 3 first-round picks.
Right.
And and to me, to get your own pick back, it was kind of something out of draft day. They could have got the 3rd pick back.
Yeah.
Houston, I don't see any way to fix it until I just don't.
It's almost like starting over, right?
Yeah, it's like a expansion team.
Yeah. Again.
The unfortunate part of it is there are probably some good guys on that team that's going to suffer.
I'm glad Watt got out of there. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I wanted him to go to the Steelers, but big picture, it didn't make sense.
No.
I know we don't have anything scripted about the Cardinals, but I do want to talk about them real quick. I think that, AJ Green's a great sign for them.
Right.
Not a good sign, a great sign.
I think let's go back to what I said just a minute ago. Let's talk about that team. Okay. Now, they did lose Kenyon Drake.
Right.
But what they added on both sides of the football are guys that can say, come on, get on my back. Let me show you how to be a professional. So now that defensive room has J.J. Watt in it.
Right.
That offensive
Leaders.
room, yes, that offensive room has A.J.
Real
Green.
leaders.
Absolutely. And I think A.J. Green takes pressure off of Kyler Murray to be the leader of that team and kind of can go, okay, let me learn how to be a quarterback. I really, really loved what Arizona done. And I'm not sure they're not my favorite out west. That's going to be a good division with Stafford in L.A. and Russell Wilson in Seattle. But I think Arizona, when it comes pick time a few months from now, might be my pick out west.
I concur. Let me give you a hot take. Kyler Murray to go heavy
in Super Bowls. So, yeah, then we'll move on to the Patriots, and that was Juju back. Real nice piece in Kenny Galladay.
They got a steal.
And I think Washington got a super pick now.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, no, good point. Good point.
That's to me,
right? Sneaky.
I do like A.J. Green to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But that's more about leadership and role play. I mean, AJ's probably a better leader than football player at this point. I'll put it that way.
I think he's just now getting back to 100%.
He's the same age, same class as Julio. So, yeah. So, I want to talk about what we learned individually. But I thought we finally seen the Patriots go, hey, let me put it this way. We finally see the Patriots realize the value of Tom Brady. And the Patriots go, I've got to address our roster. Now, the fact that they brought Cam Newton back, I also think the Patriots realize how poor of a roster they gave Cam Newton last year.
Yeah.
And you go back and look at that roster, it was horrible. But the two most telling things that I saw from the Patriots was a desire to get back to the same football team that they used to be.
Right.
And that is a deep downfield throwing football team with elite tight ends and speed on the outside. Everyone always said that Brady, because he had the James White, he had the Julian Edelman on the outside, he really wasn't a downfield thrower. But he truly, that is the nature of the Belichick offense.
Right.
Protect your quarterback, let him look downfield. I think we saw the Patriots say, we were wrong. Now we've got to compete like everyone else. The signings, each one of them, I liked. I think Aguilar
overpaid.
I think Kenyon Bourne overpaid. Yeah. I think they badly overpaid.
I like Bourne better than Aguilar, though.
I would probably agree with you. I love the two tight ends, but I think they overpaid for both of them.
Who's Gronk? Who's Aaron Hernandez?
I think Gronk is by nature the Juno Smith from Tennessee.
Do you think the offensive option is Jonnu Smith?
Well, and I think Hunter Henry moves into I think they really want to get back to the Hernandez and Gronkowski, where they run dual tight ends deep. Right. That old Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer get 2 layers of tight ends down the field. I think you'll see 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers on the field. I don't know if the Patriots are remarkably better next year.
Right.
But I think they're
set up better.
More competitive. The other thing, before we get off from here, I wanted to talk about, and I wanted your opinion of it. What did you think of the Dak move? I mean, we really haven't digested it.
Before I give my thoughts on that, can I just talk? I got to give my 2 cents about.
Oh, let's go the Patriots first.
Yeah.
I don't want to get off the.
No, you're fine, and I appreciate it. So what I think I hear you're saying, Jonnu's more of the big play, downfield threat.
All right.
Henry's more of the possession, big catch, chain mover type player.
You need a first down. It's Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm with you. And I didn't think that, but I think you're right, though. I think you're right.
They also re-signed James White, who's a valuable part of that offense.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I think, and I think the point that we missed, Mac Jones is a Patriot.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Mac Jones is their guy.
Yeah.
I think if it takes trading up,
right,
the Patriots leave
giving up more than they should.
Yeah, I mean, they have proven that they understand now they have to overpay to get back to New England football. Now they're playing by the rules that everybody else has played with.
Right.
And you're going to see this quickly with other teams. The Patriots have a 3 or 4 year window. They better get their quarterback.
Right.
Because when all these contracts they just handed out comes due in 4 years, they're going to be hurting again.
So you asked me, I'm sorry. It's been a long night. You asked me what again?
I wanted to know. I'll give you my. I'll lead you into my Dak.
Sure.
I think Dallas made a horrible mistake with Dak.
Whoa.
And here is my horrible mistake. I don't hate them re-signing him. I think they could have let him went to the free agent market, let him test the market, and I don't think he gets anywhere near that money. And then they could come back. I think they overspent on a commodity that's injured, that they're the only team that knew his true medical condition. And that's my take of it.
And I'll be honest, you caught me off guard, and that's fine. That's my take on Dak. Dallas likes to spend money. It's one of those things where pipe dream, right? You look and see what he did through the first 5 games of last year.
He's going to throw for 6,000 yards.
And you project that out, and it's silly. It's a video game. I remember playing Madden back in the day, right? Those type of numbers. But that said, if you're an organization like the Dallas Cowboys and you let a guy like Dak Prescott go to wherever, right? And he turns out being a Hall of Fame Tom Brady type quarterback.
Right.
That is a black eye that an otherwise top tier organization has not let happen. I feel like for me, with Dak being a Texas guy, with Dak having the deep South roots, it was a fit for Jerry. I like what you said a couple episodes back. Jerry loves Dak. He's not in love with Dak.
That's perfectly said.
But I think that he kind of got starstruck a little bit. And I don't know if that's a mistake, RC. Because if he comes back healthy, and if they're able to I'm not saying they need to do that, but you look at their offense and how it's set up. You don't have time with guys like Amari Cooper, with guys like Michael Gallup, with guys like Zeke Elliott to develop a guy for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
You can't if it takes an extra $10 million a year, you have to do it as a Cowboy owner because the cost of you not doing it is so much greater than the cost of doing it. It almost doesn't make sense. Now, it could fail drastically. And I think a lot of that lies on Mike McCarthy directly.
Right.
Because I don't think he's a very good coach, Randall.
Me either. I agree with you.
But the cost of bringing, even if it is, hell, let's say Deshaun Watson the cost of bringing in someone like that and failing at it will impact you not for a couple of years, but for a decade. This team's built to win now, I guess is my only point.
Yeah, you said it on you said exactly what you put it on the marker for me. Dak signed a 4-year exclusive contract with no tag on that backside of it. Amari Cooper has 4 more years on his contract. Zeke has 3 on his. It seems like to me the Dallas Cowboys sold their soul for a 4-year window.
Yeah.
And they already accept that Cooper, Dak, Zeke, this is their one window to win a Super Bowl. And it seems like to me almost an act of desperation that they had to get Dak re-signed. They have one window. It's 4 years.
It's putting all the chips on the table.
They did. They went all in.
Yeah.
They absolutely. And I think, and we'll talk about this next week, I think the New York Giants did the same thing with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
By getting him all the weapons. I think the Giants are a winner in free agency. But if Daniel Jones doesn't perform in 21, he'll be looking for a job because they gave him no excuses next year.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I love it. I love it. Oh, wow. It's a great show. It goes by so fast.
It does.
I don't think people realize. And we save, if you ever wonder, we do save little caveats every now and then to twist at each other.
But we don't script much, though, right? I mean,
we'll script a bit, but
we'll itinerary it, but we kind of leave, each other's thoughts as organic because I think that's, a positive for the show. So, any parting thoughts? Anything we missed that we have to get to in a minute or two?
No, I mean, but next week, hopefully we'll be talking. We'll come on here and we'll have some baseball results and we'll be talking baseball and roughly no anything locked in stone, but this is normally a time we record as we get closer to the NFL draft. You might see an expanded edition of OA for a draft coverage is something that we've talked about, but we've not. But I can't help but think that Thursday night, while the draft's going on live, we'll probably have a few guests in and out and talk a lot of football that night. So
I'm working on something I haven't told you. I'm working on a thing or two in the background too. So
you know what? We're sneaky, man.
Yeah. It's not just what you see on air, right? It's background stuff as well.
Yeah,
always trying to improve.
Folks, we put and again, let's hit Marion Messenger, iLogic Media, RiverCity-Media, Chaps, Fantasy Chap. I'm leading somebody out here. Let's not forget our bully.
Draft for upside.
Draft for the
Blue
upside. You can turn on your TV and watch TV and see some entertainment. We know you have other options. We put a lot of work into this, and it's a labor of passion. Chappy and I are not lining our bank account right now doing this. We do it because we, love it. And I got an email from a friend that said he felt like he dominated his draft, and that made me feel so good. That's why we're here for.
I tell you, and I didn't say this earlier. I'm in a roto league. My big money league's next week, and I'm going to be making a pick on air. I don't know if it's going to be on this one or at 8:00, but it's fun to do that stuff. So anything we could do to kind of keep it light. I like the flexibility of this show that we can kind of talk about any sport we flip and feel like.
Got the football. Masters coming up.
What's that?
I'll talk some golf during the Masters week. That's
not me. but no, we could talk some football. We could talk some basketball. We can certainly talk baseball. So next week I think we start working towards the opening day, obviously, but then also put a bow on free agency and start gearing ourselves towards draft talk. Does that sound like a good plan to you, Randall?
I already got my first 10 picks wrote down, including 2 trades.
Awesome. Well, you've pumped everything. I got nothing really to add.
No,
But
my lights just flickered. I think we're finishing up just in time.
will you hunker down if you need to there in Tornado Alley? Until next time, I'm Chappy. You're Randall. The Other Angle. Thursday nights at 10. I hope you enjoyed the content. We'll do it again Thursday night. We'll try and be better. Good night, Randall.
Hey, man, I'm shocked we made it through, but the